My hands are shaking as I stare at the text message on my phone. The words blur through tears I refuse to let fall. Asterisk, thanks again for showing me those photos of Kira with that guy. You were right to warn me she was cheating. Asterisk. It's from my ex-fiancé. But it wasn't meant for me. It was meant for my sister. The coffee shop around me fades into white noise. My heart hammers against my ribs like it's trying to escape my chest. I read it again. And again. Each word burns deeper. Photos of me cheating. I never cheated. There are no photos. My finger hovers over Zara's contact. Sweet, innocent Zara who held me while I sobbed after he left me. Zara who brought me ice cream and told me he didn't deserve me. Zara who wiped my tears and promised everything would be okay. The phone slips from my trembling hands and clatters onto the cafe table. An elderly woman glances over, concerned, but I can't move. Can't breathe. Can't process what this means. The smell of coffee makes me nauseous. The chatter around me sounds like screaming. My skin burns like I've been set on fire from the inside. 28 years of memories crash through my mind like broken glass. Every hug. Every I love you, big sister. Every time she comforted me when my life fell apart. My promotion that went to someone else. My friendships that ended in whispers and accusations. My reputation crumbling piece by piece while she watched. While she orchestrated it. I pick up my phone with shaking hands and scroll through our text history. All those caring messages. All that fake concern. All those lies wrapped in sisterly love. The realization hits like ice water in my veins. My little sister has been destroying my life for years, and I thanked her for it. 3 months ago, I thought I had everything figured out. My alarm would go off at 6:30 a.m. in my cozy downtown apartment. I'd make coffee in the French press Zara gave me for my birthday, steam rising like morning prayers. The ritual felt sacred somehow. Safe. I loved my job at Morrison Marketing. 5 years climbing the ladder, finally earning respect from colleagues who once saw me as just another eager graduate. My corner desk overlooked the city, and I'd watch people hurrying to their own dreams while I built mine. Zara would text me every morning without fail, asterisk, good morning, beautiful sister. Conquer the world today. Asterisk. Those messages made everything brighter. She was the only family I had left after our parents moved to Florida. My anchor in a city that could swallow you whole if you didn't have someone who truly knew you. We'd meet for dinner every Tuesday at Giuseppe's, our tradition since I graduated college. She'd tell me about her art gallery job, the paintings she was working on, the wealthy clients who didn't understand real art. I'd share my marketing campaigns, my small victories, my workplace dramas. You're so brave, Kira, she'd say, twirling pasta around her fork. I could never put myself out there like you do. You inspire me. Her blue eyes would shine with what I thought was admiration. Pride. Love. I felt needed. Important. Like the big sister I'd always tried to be. My apartment was small but perfect. Plants lined every windowsill because Zara said they made spaces feel alive. Photos of us covered the mantel, childhood Christmas mornings, high school graduation, her art school send-off party. In every picture, her arm was around me, her smile genuine and bright. Or so I thought. Dating was complicated, but I wasn't worried. I'd had my heart broken before, college boyfriends who wanted different futures, coworkers who couldn't handle my ambition. But I knew love would come when it was meant to. Zara always reminded me I deserved someone extraordinary. Don't settle, she'd say whenever I'd mention a promising date. You're worth waiting for the perfect person. I trusted her judgment completely. She knew me better than anyone. My social circle was small but solid. 3 close friends from college, a few work acquaintances who'd become genuine companions. We'd meet for wine nights, Complain about bosses, celebrate promotions. Normal life. Happy life. Sometimes I'd catch myself feeling lonely in crowded rooms, wondering if anyone truly saw me. But then Zara would call, and that emptiness would fade. She saw me. She understood my dreams of creative campaigns that would change how people thought about brands. She listened when I talked about the house I wanted to buy, the family I hoped to have someday. You'll have everything you want, she'd promise. You work harder than anyone I know. The universe owes you happiness. I believed her because I needed to believe someone was rooting for me unconditionally. Sunday mornings were for farmers' markets with Zara. She'd pick out flowers while I chose vegetables for the week. Strangers would smile at us, probably thinking we were friends, maybe even a couple. We had that easy intimacy that comes from years of shared secrets and inside jokes. You're my person, I told her once while we waited in line for fresh bread. I don't know what I'd do without you. She squeezed my hand. You'll never have to find out. The memory feels poisonous now, but then it felt like a promise. Like safety. I had routines. Stability. A sister who loved me. A career building towards something meaningful. Friday movie nights, Saturday morning runs, Sunday family calls with our parents. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Predictable. Secure. I should have known that in a world where nothing comes easy, having someone love you without conditions was too good to be true. But I was so desperate to be cherished that I never questioned why Zara's love felt like the only thing keeping me whole. It was Tuesday, 3 weeks before everything shattered. I was running late for our dinner at Giuseppe's, my heels clicking against wet pavement. Rain had started during my client meeting, and I'd forgotten my umbrella again. Zara was always telling me to be more prepared. Through the restaurant window, I saw her at our usual table. But she wasn't alone. A man in an expensive suit sat across from her, leaning forward like they were sharing secrets. His hand covered hers on the white tablecloth. Intimate. Familiar. My stomach twisted. Zara had never mentioned dating anyone seriously. I pushed through the door, shaking rainwater from my coat. The hostess smiled, but I barely noticed. My eyes were locked on my sister's face as she noticed me approaching. For just a second, maybe less, her expression flickered. Panic? Guilt? Then it melted into her usual warm smile. Kira. She stood quickly, the man's hand sliding away. You're soaked. This is Jonathan, from the gallery. Jonathan, this is my sister I'm always talking about. He stood with practiced charm, extending his hand. The famous Kira. Zara never stops bragging about your marketing genius. His grip was firm, his smile perfect. But something felt rehearsed about the whole scene. I should go, he said, already reaching for his wallet. Let you sisters have your evening. You don't have to, I started, but he was already gone, leaving money on the table and disappearing into the rain. Zara sat back down, tucking her hair behind her ear. A nervous habit I knew well. Sorry about that, she said, not meeting my eyes. Work stuff. You know how gallery people are, everything's urgent until it's not. I slid into my chair, studying her face. He seemed nice. Jonathan? Yeah, he's fine. Boring, actually. Always going on about profit margins and market positioning. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. Forced. I wanted to ask more, but something in her posture warned me off. The way she held her shoulders too straight, her fingers drumming against the table. How was your day? She asked quickly, changing the subject with the skill of someone who'd had practice. We ordered our usual meals, fell into familiar conversation. But underneath, something had shifted. The easy rhythm felt strained, like we were both performing our roles instead of simply being sisters. When she excused herself to the bathroom, I noticed she took her phone with her. She never did that. I sat alone, watching rain streak down the window, and tried to shake the feeling that I'd walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. The private investigator's report arrived on a Thursday morning that started like any other. I'd hired Marcus Chin 3 days after that drunk text from my ex-fiancé. 3 days of sleepless nights, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself there was an innocent explanation. That my sister, my protector, my best friend, couldn't possibly be capable of what my gut was screaming. The manila envelope felt heavier than it should have. My hands trembled as I opened it at my kitchen table, the same table where Zara and I had shared countless breakfasts, planning our futures like we'd always be in each other's lives. The first page was a timeline. Dates and events stretching back 12 years. Asterisk June 2012, anonymous email sent to Morrison Marketing claiming Kira Blackwood plagiarized campaign concepts. Email traced to IP address registered to Zara Blackwood, asterisk. My coffee mug slipped from my fingers, shattering against the floor. Hot liquid splashed across my bare feet, but I couldn't feel the burn. I couldn't feel anything except the ice spreading through my chest. Asterisk September 2014, fake Instagram account at Truth About Kara created. Posted doctored photos of subject with various men in compromising positions. Account linked to Zara Blackwood's phone number, asterisk. The room started spinning. Those photos, the ones that destroyed my engagement, they were real pictures of me, but with strangers' faces photoshopped in. Meals with coworkers transformed into romantic dinners. Professional handshakes turned into intimate embraces. My sister had taken innocent moments from my life and twisted them into lies. Asterisk March 2018, email sent to subject's supervisor claiming Kira Blackwood was sharing confidential client information with competitors. Email traced to burner phone purchased by Zara Blackwood, asterisk. That was the promotion I lost. The one that went to Jennifer Mitchell instead. I'd blamed bad luck, office politics, anything except the truth staring at me from these pages. Asterisk December 2020, anonymous letters sent to subject's college friends claiming Kira Blackwood had spread rumors about their personal lives. Handwriting analysis confirms match to Zara Blackwood, asterisk. Sarah. Rebecca. Michelle. 3 friendships that died sudden, unexplained deaths. They'd stopped returning my calls, avoided me at reunions, looked at me like I'd betrayed them somehow. Because Zara told them I had. My chest felt like it was caving in. Each breath came in sharp, painful gasps. The walls of my kitchen seemed to be closing around me, suffocating me with the weight of a decade of calculated destruction. Page after page of evidence. Screenshots of fake social media accounts spreading lies about my character. Bank records showing payments to people who'd given false testimonies about my behavior. Phone records proving Zara had been in contact with every person who'd ever turned against me. The final page was a summary that made my blood freeze. Asterisk subject sister has engaged in systematic harassment and defamation for approximately 12 years. Estimated financial damage, $200,000 in lost promotions and opportunities. Estimated personal damage, immeasurable, asterisk. Immeasurable. I pressed my palms against my eyes, but I couldn't stop the memories flooding back. Every time my life fell apart, Zara was there. Comforting me. Holding me while I cried. Telling me everything would be okay. She was there because she'd orchestrated it all. The woman I'd protected from playground bullies had become my greatest tormentor. The sister I'd given my college savings to had stolen my entire future. The person I'd trusted with every secret, every dream, every vulnerability had weaponized them all against me. 12 years of bad luck. 12 years of wondering why nothing ever worked out for me. 12 years of thinking I wasn't good enough, smart enough, lovable enough. 12 years of living in a prison my own sister had built around me, brick by lie by lie. I doubled over, a sound escaping my throat that didn't feel human. It was the sound of trust dying. Of love curdling into something dark and poisonous. My phone buzzed. A text from Zara, *miss you, big sis. Coffee later? I have exciting news to share. Asterisk. I stared at those words, so cheerful, so loving, so utterly false, and felt something break inside my chest that I knew would never heal. The sister I'd adored my entire life had never existed at all. I stopped existing for 3 weeks. Not literally, of course. My heart kept beating, my lungs kept working, but the person I'd been trusting, hopeful Kara, died the moment I read that report. What was left felt like an empty shell walking through the motions of being human. I called in sick to work, claiming food poisoning, then the flu, then a family emergency. None of it was technically a lie. My family had been poisoning me for 12 years, and it was definitely an emergency. My apartment became my tomb. I drew the curtains, unplugged the landline, put my phone on silent. The outside world continued its cheerful chaos, sirens wailing past my window, neighbors laughing in the hallway, life moving forward like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I couldn't eat. Food tasted like ash, like betrayal. I lost 8 pounds in 10 days, my clothes hanging loose on a body that felt foreign and hollow. Sometimes I'd catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror and not recognize the hollow-eyed stranger staring back. Zara called 17 times the first week. Her voicemails started concerned, then worried, then panicked. Kira, please call me back. I'm scared something's happened to you. I drove by your apartment. Your car's there but you won't answer the door. I'm going crazy with worry. Please, just send me a text that you're alive. I love you so much. Each message was a knife twisting in my chest. The concern in her voice sounded so real, so genuine. If I hadn't seen the evidence with my own eyes, I would have believed she actually cared. Maybe that was the worst part, knowing that even her worry was just another performance. I spent hours lying on my bedroom floor, staring at the ceiling, replaying every memory through this new, horrible lens. The time she suggested I wear that red dress to a company party, the same dress that appeared in one of those doctored photos. The way she'd casually asked about my passwords, claiming she needed to check her email on my laptop. How she always wanted to know about my work projects, my relationships, my fears. She'd been taking inventory of everything I cared about so she could systematically destroy it. The shame was suffocating. How could I have been so blind? So trusting? So pathetically grateful for scraps of fake affection? I felt like the stupidest person alive, a walking cautionary tale about misplaced trust. Some nights I'd wake up screaming from dreams where Zara's face melted away to reveal something monstrous underneath. Other nights, I'd dream we were children again, and she was protecting me from bullies, and I'd wake up crying because for a moment I'd forgotten she was the bully now. I stopped showering, stopped brushing my teeth, stopped caring about anything that connected me to the person I used to be. That Kira was dead. She'd been murdered by someone she loved more than life itself. But in the 3rd week, something shifted. I was lying in bed at 3 a.m., staring at my phone, when I saw a news article about a woman who'd discovered her husband had been drugging her for years. The headline read, "Victim becomes victor, how she rebuilt her life after ultimate betrayal." Something cold and calculating flickered to life in my chest. Not hope, I wasn't ready for hope, but something else. Something harder. Survival instinct. I sat up for the first time in days, my spine straightening with sudden purpose. Zara had played a long game, destroying me piece by piece with patience and precision. Maybe it was time I learned to play games too. I reached for my laptop, fingers trembling not with grief now, but with something that felt almost like hunger. I opened a new document and began typing. Asterisk evidence file, Zara Blackwood. Day 1 of documentation asterisk. If my sister wanted to destroy me in silence, then silence would become my weapon too. For 12 years, she'd been the predator and I'd been the prey. Time to reverse those roles. The transformation happened overnight, like a switch flipping in my brain. I woke up on day 22 of my self-imposed isolation with crystal clarity. No more crying. No more broken sleep. No more feeling sorry for myself. I had work to do. I showered for the first time in a week, watching 12 years of naive trust swirl down the drain with the soap. When I looked in the mirror afterward, the hollow-eyed victim was gone. In her place stood someone I didn't recognize, someone harder, colder, infinitely more dangerous. Someone who understood that the best revenge isn't hot and explosive. It's patient and surgical. I made coffee with steady hands and opened my laptop. The private investigator had given me Zara's digital footprint, but that was just the beginning. I needed to understand her completely, her weaknesses, her fears, her carefully constructed lies. First, I created ghost accounts on every social platform. Different names, different photos, different personalities. I became a dozen different people, all watching my sister from the shadows. I studied her like a scientist studying a virus. Her Instagram was a masterpiece of deception. Photos of gallery openings where she posed with her artwork, pieces I reverse-searched and found were stolen from obscure European artists. Posts about her volunteer work at animal shelters, except the shelter she claimed to work at had no record of anyone named Zara Blackwood. Even her charitable persona was fabricated. I documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, cross-references. I built a digital fortress of evidence that would make the private investigator's report look like amateur hour. But information alone wasn't enough. I needed to understand her psychology, her motivations. Why had she chosen me as her target? What did she gain from watching me suffer? The answer came when I hacked into her email using passwords I'd seen her type 100 times over family dinners. My stomach turned as I read correspondence with Jonathan from the gallery, the man I'd interrupted at dinner. They weren't dating. They were business partners in an elaborate art fraud scheme. And they'd been planning to use my marketing expertise to help them expand their operation, right before destroying my reputation so completely that I could never expose them. I was supposed to be their final victim and their unwitting accomplice. The coldness in my chest spread like ice through my veins. She hadn't just been hurting me for 12 years, she'd been grooming me for one ultimate betrayal that would have left me destroyed and possibly imprisoned. I spent the next 2 weeks learning everything about their operation. Gallery records, financial statements, communications with buyers. I traced their network of forged documents, fake provenance papers, and bribed authenticators. Zara had built a criminal empire, and she'd planned to make me the scapegoat when it all came crashing down. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd taught me to be careful, methodical, patient. All those years of sabotaging my impulsive decisions had trained me to think 3 steps ahead. Now I would use those lessons against her. I started small. Anonymous tips to the IRS about unreported income. Whispered concerns to gallery patrons about authentication issues. Seeds of doubt planted in fertile ground. I watched from coffee shops across the street as her confidence began to crack. She started looking over her shoulder. Her Instagram posts became less frequent, more defensive. She called me obsessively, desperate for the emotional support she'd trained me to provide. I never answered. The silence was driving her insane, exactly as I'd planned. She'd spent so many years controlling my emotional state that my absence left her unmoored, desperate, making mistakes. Perfect. I had learned something valuable in those weeks of planning. Revenge doesn't require screaming or confrontation. It requires patience, precision, and the ability to let someone destroy themselves with their own paranoia. Zara had been playing chess with my life for 12 years, moving me around the board like a helpless pawn. But pawns, when they reach the other side, become queens. And queens are the most dangerous pieces on the board. The first crack appeared in Zara's perfect facade on a Tuesday. I was sitting in Café Luna, 2 blocks from her gallery, watching through the window as she argued with Jonathan on the sidewalk. Her hands moved frantically, her face flushed with panic. Even from a distance, I could see the desperation in her body language. My anonymous tip to the gallery's insurance company had worked. They were investigating the authenticity of 3 paintings in their upcoming auction. Paintings I knew were forgeries because I'd traced them back to their original creators in Prague and Barcelona. For the first time in 12 years, Zara was the one scrambling to explain herself. The power shift felt intoxicating. I sipped my coffee and watched her world begin to crumble, piece by carefully orchestrated piece. Each small victory fed something dark growing inside me, something that whispered that maybe I was enjoying this too much. The thought should have scared me. Instead, it felt like armor. My phone buzzed. Another voicemail from Zara, the 15th this week. Kira, I don't know what's wrong, but please call me back. Things are happening, weird things. I need my sister right now. Please. The desperation in her voice once would have broken my heart. Now it felt like music. That afternoon, I executed phase 2. I'd discovered that Zara's apartment lease was under a false identity. She'd been living as Zoe Blackwell for 3 years, probably to hide assets from the IRS. One anonymous tip to her landlord about fraudulent documentation, and suddenly she was facing eviction proceedings. I watched from across the street as she frantically made phone calls on her building steps, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. The old Kira would have run to comfort her. The new Kira felt nothing but cold satisfaction. But late that night, alone in my apartment, doubt crept in. Was I becoming like her? Was this calculated cruelty turning me into the monster I'd always believed she was? I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, searching for signs of the person I used to be. The woman who believed in second chances, who saw the best in people even when they disappointed her. That woman felt like a stranger now. I pushed the doubt away. Zara had spent 12 years systematically destroying everything good in my life. She'd stolen my career, my relationships, my sense of self-worth. She'd planned to frame me for her crimes and watch me rot in prison while she escaped with her ill-gotten fortune. She deserved everything that was coming to her. The next morning brought my sweetest victory yet. Jonathan had been arrested trying to flee the country with forged paintings worth over $2 million. The news article mentioned an anonymous tip that had led authorities to his hotel room. My tip. My research. My careful documentation of their travel patterns and financial transfers. I called Zara's gallery, disguising my voice as a concerned collector. I heard about the recent troubles, I said, injecting worry into my tone. Should I be concerned about the pieces I've purchased? Everything is fine, the receptionist said, but her voice was strained. Ms. Blackwood is handling the situation personally. Ms. Blackwood was drowning, and she knew it. That evening, I finally answered one of her calls. Kira. Her voice broke with relief. Oh God, I've been so worried. Where have you been? I've been thinking, I said, my voice carefully neutral. About family. About trust. About how well we really know the people closest to us. Silence stretched between us. I could hear her breathing, quick and shallow. What do you mean? I mean, sometimes the people who claim to love us the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, uncertain. Kira, if this is about Jonathan, I can explain. I hung up. In the silence of my apartment, I smiled. The hunter had become the hunted, and she was finally beginning to understand that her perfect little game was falling apart. But this was just the beginning. The real reckoning was still coming. The family reunion was supposed to be Zara's triumph. Our parents' 30th anniversary party, held at the Riverside Country Club, with 47 relatives gathered to celebrate love and family. Zara had planned it for months, orchestrating every detail down to the white roses and champagne toasts. She'd also planned to announce her engagement to Marcus Sterling, the wealthy art collector's son she'd been dating for 3 months. Another lie, another performance, another way to steal attention and admiration that should have been our parents'. I arrived exactly on time, carrying a laptop bag that made my cousin Rachel raise an eyebrow. "Bringing work to a party, Kira," she teased. "Something like that," I said, scanning the room until I found Zara. She looked radiant in white silk, her golden hair perfectly styled, diamond earrings catching the chandelier light. She was holding court near the head table, regaling our aunts with stories about her successful art career. When she saw me, her face lit up with relief. She rushed over, arms outstretched for a hug. I sidestepped. "Kira. You came. I was so worried you wouldn't miss Mom and Dad's big day," I interrupted, my voice pleasant but cold. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Recognition? She'd always been good at reading people, and the way I was looking at her must have set off every alarm bell in her head. "Ladies and gentlemen." Dad's voice boomed across the room. "Before we toast 30 years of marriage, my daughter Zara has something special to share." Perfect timing. Zara moved toward the microphone, but I stepped forward first. "Actually, Dad, I have something to share first. A little slideshow about family memories." I connected my laptop to the room's projection system. 47 faces turned toward the screen, smiling expectantly. The first image appeared, a screenshot of Zara's fake Instagram account, complete with her profile photo and the caption, "Kira Blackwood is a lying, cheating fraud who destroys everyone around her." The room fell silent. "This account was created by my sister," I said calmly, advancing to the next slide. "She's been using it for 12 years to spread lies about me." Zara's face went white. "Kira, what are you?" "I'm showing our family who you really are." The next slides came in rapid succession. Forged documents with her signatures, email threads planning my professional sabotage, bank records showing payments to people who'd given false testimony about my character. This is financial documentation proving Zara has been running an art fraud scheme, stealing paintings, and selling them as originals. Gasps echoed through the room. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad looked like he'd been punched. "These are chat logs where she discusses framing me for her crimes when the authorities got too close." Zara's fiancé Marcus stood up abruptly, his face a mask of disgust. Without a word, he walked out, leaving his engagement ring on the table. "Kira, please," Zara whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I can explain. The way you explained away 12 years of destroying my life while pretending to comfort me?" I clicked to the final slide, a timeline of every sabotage, every lie, every calculated cruelty she'd inflicted while playing the role of loving sister. "This is what systematic abuse looks like," I said to our stunned family. "This is what happens when someone you trust decides to slowly poison your entire existence." Zara collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was jealous and stupid, Anne." "You were calculated and deliberate," I corrected. "For 12 years. I closed the laptop and looked around the room at faces filled with shock, horror, and dawning understanding. "I know this isn't what anyone expected tonight," I said quietly. "But I needed you all to understand why I can never forgive her. And why I can never trust any of you who choose to support her after seeing what she's capable of." The silence stretched like a held breath. Then I picked up my laptop, kissed my parents' foreheads, and walked out of the country club into the cool night air. Behind me, I could hear Zara's sobs echoing through the sudden chaos. For the first time in 12 years, I felt completely, powerfully free. The aftermath was swift and merciless. Within 24 hours, videos of Zara's public humiliation had spread through our extended family's group chats. Cousin Rachel posted a clip on social media with the caption, "When family betrayal gets exposed at a wedding anniversary." It went viral locally, 50,000 views in 3 days. Zara's art gallery fired her immediately. The police investigation I'd triggered with my evidence led to federal fraud charges. Her fake fiancé Marcus released a statement to the society pages, distancing himself from criminal associations and deceptive individuals. She lost everything in 72 hours. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt oddly hollow, like I'd been holding my breath for 12 years and finally exhaled. My parents called repeatedly, their voices thick with confusion and guilt. "Kira, we had no idea," Mom sobbed into my voicemail. "How did we miss this? How did we fail you both so completely?" Dad's message was shorter, "Your sister is asking for you. She says she needs to explain. I know it's not my place to ask, but she's still family." I deleted both messages without responding. Some relatives reached out with awkward apologies and invitations to coffee, suddenly eager to rebuild relationships they'd neglected for years. Others sent messages dripping with false sympathy, fishing for details they could share at dinner parties. I ignored them all. For the first week after the confrontation, I stayed home again, but this time it felt different. Not like hiding, but like healing. I cleaned my apartment thoroughly, throwing away anything that reminded me of the person I used to be, the naive woman who'd believed love meant accepting cruelty. I thought betrayal had broken me, but I was wrong. It had rebuilt me into someone stronger, someone who understood that forgiveness isn't always virtuous and that some wounds are meant to leave scars. On day 8, something unexpected happened. My old supervisor at Morrison Marketing called. "Kira? This is going to sound strange, but we've been reviewing some personnel decisions from a few years back. There were some irregularities in the information we received about you. We'd like to discuss bringing you back, possibly with a significant promotion. The promotion that should have been mine years ago. The career Zara had stolen with her lies." I accepted. My first day back, colleagues who'd avoided me for months suddenly remembered we'd been friends. The whisper campaign that had isolated me died overnight, replaced by awkward but genuine apologies. "I never believed those rumors anyway," Jennifer Mitchell told me over lunch, conveniently forgetting she'd gotten my promotion after Zara's sabotage. "You always seemed too professional for that kind of drama." I smiled and said nothing. The truth was more valuable than their retroactive loyalty. 2 weeks later, I received a handwritten letter forwarded from my old address. Zara's handwriting, shaky and desperate. "Kira, I know you'll never forgive me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I was sick with jealousy and I destroyed both our lives. I'm in therapy now, trying to understand why I became such a monster. I hope someday you can be happy, even if it's without me. I love you, even though I know you can't love me back anymore. Z***. I read it twice, waiting for some flicker of the old sympathy, the old desperate need to fix everyone's pain. Nothing came. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my desk drawer. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. She was finally taking responsibility, even if it was 12 years too late. That night, I looked in the bathroom mirror and saw someone I recognized again. Not the broken victim or the cold strategist, but a woman who'd survived systematic betrayal and emerged intact. Scarred, yes. But stronger. The old Kira had believed that love meant accepting anything from family. The new Kira understood that real love requires honesty, respect, and boundaries. I'd learned the difference between being alone and being free. And for the first time in over a decade, I chose freedom. 6 months later, I'm standing in front of my childhood home again, but everything has changed. The USB drive in my hand no longer contains evidence of betrayal. It holds the presentation for my new promotion, the corner office I finally earned through my own merit. The trembling in my fingers isn't from shock anymore, but from the cool autumn wind that signals new beginnings. My phone buzzes. Another letter has arrived from Zara, forwarded from my old address. I don't need to open it to know what it says: more apologies, more explanations, more desperate attempts to resurrect a relationship that died the moment I discovered who she really was. I delete the notification without reading it. The woman who destroyed my life for 12 years no longer has the power to hurt me. She's facing federal charges, living in a studio apartment across the country, working at a coffee shop to pay her legal fees. Her carefully constructed world of lies collapsed faster than it took her to build it. Some people might call that cruel. I call it justice. I think about the girl I used to be, standing on this same sidewalk, believing that family meant unconditional love and unquestioning trust. She was so eager to be cherished that she mistook manipulation for affection, cruelty for care. That girl had to die for me to survive. I turn away from the house where I learned to trust the wrong person, and walk toward my car, toward the life I built from the ashes of everything she tried to burn down. My phone rings. It's my new colleague asking about drinks after work, genuine friendship without hidden agendas. I answer with a smile. The old Kira believed that forgiveness was always the answer. The new Kira knows that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away and refuse to look back. Betrayal taught me that love without respect is just pretty poison. And I'm finally immune.